Hello, friends. Today I want to present some monologues from the gods of death. And if you like them, hit like and subscribe because it doesn't cost you anything. Oh, and don't forget to leave a comment telling me which one was your favorite.
They spoke of me, those fools who believed they could conquer the forces of fate, those who dared raise their swords against me. They spoke in whispers, their words heavy with fear, their hearts pounding in dread of the name that I carried. The Morrigan, the Dark Queen, the phantom of the battlefield, the harbinger of doom. Oh, how they feared me, how they trembled at the thought of my approach. It was not just the blood that stained the earth when I walked, no, it was the fear of what followed in my wake. I am the goddess of battle, of strife, of war, and when I take to the field, it is not just a fight that ensues, but the beginning of a reckoning. My enemies saw the crows circle above, the shadows deepen, and they knew their time had come. But it was not only fear they spoke of, no, it was respect. Respect born from the understanding of the inevitability of my power. The warriors who died on my command knew this, those who stood against me in the dark of night or in the heat of battle. They knew that there was no escaping the hands of fate that I wielded. They spoke of my presence with awe, for I am not just a goddess of war. I am the embodiment of the cycle itself, the life and death that battle brings. The tide of war shifts when I arrive, for I am the one who determines who will rise victorious, and who will be claimed by the earth. They understood that it was not by strength alone that one won the day, but by the favor of the Morrigan herself. They feared the coldness of my eyes, the darkness of my heart, but they also respected the balance I brought to the world. Death and victory walk hand in hand in my realm, and to fall beneath my gaze was to face the truth of their mortality. To meet me was to meet their fate, whether they had earned it in battle, or whether it was time to be claimed by the inevitable. I have watched kingdoms rise and fall, heroes fight and die, and still my name remains. For I am not just a goddess of war, I am the goddess of fate. I see the threads of life as they are woven and unravel, and I weave them into the tapestry of battle. My enemies respected that I was a force that could not be defeated, a presence that could not be ignored. I did not fight for glory, nor for honor. No, I fought for the balance. I fought for the truth that in every victory there is a death, and in every death there is the spark of life for those who remain. And so they spoke of me. They feared me, yes, but they respected me even more, for they knew that to challenge the Morrigan was to challenge the very fabric of fate itself. To be granted my favor was to be unstoppable, but to stand against me was to court death, a death that was swift and inevitable. I did not need to raise my sword for them to know my power. My presence on the field, the fluttering of wings, the cry of the raven was enough to make their hearts falter, and still, in the dark corners of their minds, they whispered my name with respect, for they knew that I am eternal. I am the battle and the death that follows. I am the Morrigan, and I am fate.
Ah, mortals and gods alike, they speak my name with trembling lips. Hades, a name that drips with fear, wrapped in shadow and whispers. To some, I am the grim inevitability, the final stop on their mortal journey. To others, I am a tyrant, ruling over a land no one dares to enter willingly. My enemies, oh, how they love to paint me as a villain. They claim I am cold, unyielding, a heartless jailer of souls. But tell me, what is a king without laws? What is a kingdom without order? My realm is no chaos, no pit of despair as they might have you believe. It is balance, eternal and unbroken. They fear me, yes, but it is a fear tempered by respect, for they know that I am not the storm of Zeus, nor the sea's tempest of Poseidon. I am the steady earth beneath their feet, the quiet certainty of an ending. My strength is not in wild displays of power, but in my enduring presence. Even my brothers, mighty Zeus and relentless Poseidon, tread cautiously around me. They may reign over the heavens and the seas, but I rule the unyielding domain beneath it all. Every mountain they stand on, every wave they command, it rests upon my silent kingdom. And my enemies, oh, how they boast and plot, yet they all come to me in the end. Heroes, kings, gods, and monsters alike, they all find their way to my gates. They may speak of me as a specter to frighten children, but deep in their hearts they know the truth. I am not a force to be fought or conquered. I am inevitability. Respect? Yes, they respect me. Not out of love or admiration, but out of understanding. They know that when their time comes, I will not falter. I will not show favor, nor will I turn them away. For in my domain, all are equal. So let them speak of me in fear and awe. Let them call me cruel, distant, and unyielding. I am Hades, lord of the underworld, keeper of the dead. And in my shadow, they find not only fear, but a reminder of their own fleeting mortality. That, more than anything, is why they respect me. And if they do not, well, even gods cannot outrun the end.
They speak of me as if I am a curse, a shadow to dread, a harbinger of sorrow. Thanatos, they call me, death incarnate. To some, I am the final thief, stealing breath in the dead of night. To others, I am the end of stories, a grim punctuation to the tale of life. And yet, in their hearts, they cannot deny the truth. My presence is as much a part of the world as their first breath. My enemies, if such beings can exist in the face of inevitability, weave tales of my cruelty. They say I come without mercy, that I revel in the extinguishing of light. But they are wrong. I take no pleasure in my work. I am not war, nor famine, nor plague. I am simply the stillness that follows, the inevitable calm after the chaos. They fear me, of course. How could they not? The mortal mind cannot comprehend the final silence, but their fear is laced with respect, begrudging as it may be. Even the mightiest warriors who roar defiantly in life bow their heads when I arrive, for they know that no blade, no shield, no prayer can halt my approach. Gods themselves tread lightly around me, Zeus with his thunderbolts, Poseidon with his oceans. They may rage and roar, but they too will one day feel my gentle hand. Even Hades, my brother in the eternal dance of endings, knows to respect the boundaries of my domain. For where his kingdom begins, mine already lingers. And yet, they speak my name in hushed tones, not out of hatred, but of awe. For I am not chaos. I am the balance to life. Without me, there would be no meaning to existence, no urgency to live, no beauty in fleeting moments. The wise among them understand this. They do not curse my name but accept it, knowing that my touch is neither punishment nor reward. It is merely what is. To my enemies who resist, who rage against the inevitable, I offer no anger, only patience. For time is my ally, and all will come to me in the end. It is not I who takes, it is they who come to rest. And so they fear me, respect me, even hate me. But none can ignore me. I am Thanatos, the gentle hand of death, the quiet whisper that ends the song. Let them speak of me as they will. For when the time comes, they will know that I am neither cruel nor kind. I am simply the truth.
They say my name with trembling voices, a mixture of dread and awe. To them I am the dark sovereign, the unseen force ruling beneath their feet. My enemies have always spoken of me with fear, and how could they not? For I am the keeper of what they dread most, the end of all things. Yet even in their fear there is respect, begrudging and bitter though it may be. They call me the Lord of the Dead, as if to brand me a tyrant. But tell me, what tyrant enforces only what is fair? What ruler treats every soul with equality? No matter their birth, their deeds, or their station, I do not choose who enters my realm. I do not beckon them. They come because their time has come, and my gates stand ready to receive them all. My enemies paint me as cruel, unfeeling, obsessed with hoarding the souls of the departed. They tell tales of my cold demeanor, of my silent watch over the dead. But what they fail to see is the balance I provide. Without me, there is no final rest, no closure, no return to the earth from which life springs. Even the gods respect me, though they dare not admit it openly. Jupiter rules the heavens with his storms, Neptune the seas with his tides. But I rule over something more enduring, the treasures of the earth. The veins of gold and silver, the wealth hidden in its depths are mine. The roots of all their empires lie in my domain, and even their mighty realms rest upon my foundation. They fear me because they cannot control me. They cannot bribe me, bargain with me, or overpower me. I am beyond their reach, beyond their understanding. My power is not in thunderbolts or raging seas, but in the quiet, inevitable embrace of the earth. And yet in their fear they whisper of my justice, my fairness. They know that I do not take joy in their suffering, nor revel in their defeat. When their time comes, I greet them not as an enemy, but as a host. I offer them a place in my kingdom, a space to rest from the turmoil of life. So let them speak of me with fear. Let them weave their stories of dread. For beneath it all, they understand. They respect the weight of my rule, the inevitability of my presence. I am Pluto, the lord of what lies beneath, the keeper of all that life leaves behind. My enemies may fear me, but they cannot deny the truth, that even in death I am wealth itself.
A name they dare not speak too loudly, lest it summon me. To them I am the end, the unyielding curtain that falls when their time runs out. My enemies have called me many things, a thief of light, a harbinger of despair, a destroyer of hope. They paint me in colors of terror, yet even as they curse my name, their voices quiver with respect. They say I am cruel, that I take without mercy, without thought, without reason, but they misunderstand. I am not cruel. I am constant. I do not choose who meets my touch, nor do I relish the task. It is simply my role in the great order, one I perform with neither joy nor malice. My enemies fear me because they cannot fight me. Their swords shatter, their shields splinter, their prayers dissolve into the void. Kings and beggars, heroes and cowards, they all fall silent when I arrive. For death does not discriminate. It does not waver. It does not negotiate. Even the gods, for all their power, whisper my name with reverence. They craft their stories to explain me, their myths to justify my work. Yet they know I am a force even they cannot escape. Mars wages war, Jupiter commands the heavens, Neptune stirs the seas, but I am the stillness that follows. Their storms, their battles, their tempests, they all bow to me in the end. And yet in their fear there is understanding. They respect me because they must. For I am not chaos. I am the balance. I am the silence that gives meaning to their noise, the end that makes their beginnings matter. Without me, what is life but an endless march with no destination? My enemies speak of me with dread, but their words are often laced with awe. They know that my scythe does not cut indiscriminately. It frees the weary, unites lovers long parted, and grants peace to those burdened by the weight of life. They may fear my arrival, but they also know it brings the ultimate truth. So let them speak of me as they will. Let them fear my shadow, curse my name, and tremble at my presence. For in their hearts they know I am not their enemy. I am their constant companion, the one truth they cannot deny. I am Mors, the quiet shadow that follows them all, waiting to offer them rest. And whether they fear me or respect me, it is of no matter. I come all the same.
My name drips from their tongues like venom, laced with fear and disdain. To them, I am an outcast, a specter of cold inevitability. The gods of Asgard call me an abomination. The mortals whisper of me as a monster. But beneath their insults lies a tremor of respect, a grudging acknowledgement of what I am and the role I play. They fear me because they cannot understand me. To them, I am the unwanted daughter, cast into the shadows of the 9 realms to rule over the Forsaken. But what did they expect? Did they think I would wail in despair or grovel for their acceptance? No, I took what was given, this cold, dark land, and made it my own. My enemies tell stories to frighten children, painting me as cruel and merciless. They say my touch is frostbite, my gaze a harbinger of despair. But I am not cruel. I am fair. In Helheim, all are equal. Heroes who die in battle may find glory in Valhalla. But what of those who die quietly, unremarked, unloved? They are mine, and I welcome them. The gods sneer at me, but they do so with caution. Even Odin, with all his wisdom, knows better than to challenge the boundaries of my domain. They speak of Helheim as if it is a prison, but it is not. It is a sanctuary, a place where the weary rest and the forgotten find solace. My enemies respect me because they must. They know I am unyielding, that I cannot be swayed by force or flattery. I am not like my father, Loki, whose silver tongue bends reality. I am the unmovable truth, the stillness at the end of their stories. Do they fear my power? Perhaps. For while Thor may crush mountains with, Gelmir and Freya may stir hearts with her beauty. None can undo the march of time. None can retrieve what I hold. When the dead cross my threshold, they are mine. And not even the mightiest gods can take them back without consequence. So let them speak of me with fear. Let them shiver at the thought of my icy halls and cold embrace. But let them also remember this: I do not take out of malice. I do not punish, nor do I reward. I am the keeper of those they abandon, the guardian of souls they deem unworthy. I am Hell, ruler of the forgotten, the silent watcher of the dead. And whether they curse my name or speak it with respect, it is of no consequence to me, for I remain as eternal and unyielding as the frost that cloaks my land.
The name they dare not speak lightly, for it carries the weight of judgment, the promise of renewal, and the shadow of death. My enemies whisper of me with fear, for they know that I am more than a king. I am the gatekeeper of eternity. In my realm, all are equal before the scales, and no soul escapes the truth of their deeds. They fear me because I am incorruptible. They fear the scales of Ma'at, the feather of truth that weighs their hearts. Even the gods cannot tip the balance, for justice in my domain is absolute. They tell tales of my power, cloaking me in dread to hide their own guilt. For what they fear most is not my wrath, but my fairness. My enemies, those who sought to destroy me, called me weak. They thought death would end my rule. Yet here I stand, sovereign of the Duat, master of life and death alike. Set himself, my brother, once sought to unmake me, to scatter my pieces across the world. But even he in his chaos could not undo what is eternal. For with each fragment of myself restored, I became more than a king. I became a symbol of resurrection, of life's triumph over death. They speak of my judgment with trembling voices. They respect me because they must. Not because I wield a sword or command armies, but because I hold the scales that decide their fates. My power is not force, but truth. I do not punish out of hatred, nor reward out of favor. I simply reveal what is already within them. The righteous among them approach me with reverence, their hearts light as the feather of Ma'at. The wicked, however, fear the moment when my gaze meets theirs. For they know that no lie, no excuse, no power can save them from their own deeds. And so they speak of me as the Lord of the dead, the judge of souls, the green one who governs the cycle of life and death. They fear me because I am unchanging, because I see what they hide from the world and from themselves. But beneath their fear lies respect, for they know that without me, there is no order, no balance, no rebirth. I am Osiris, the eternal king, the guardian of the afterlife, the judge of all who walk the earth. Let my enemies whisper my name with dread and awe, for when their time comes, they will stand before me, and in that moment, they will understand I am not their destroyer, I am their truth.
My name is spoken in whispers, cloaked in fear and reverence alike. The mortals see me as a shadow, a figure who moves between the worlds of the living and the dead. My enemies, they call me a scavenger of souls, a harbinger of finality. But even as they curse me, their voices tremble with the respect they cannot suppress. They fear me because they do not understand. To them, I am a guardian of secrets they cannot fathom, the keeper of mysteries beyond their reach. They tell stories to frighten themselves, painting me as a being who preys upon the living, who thrives on the fear of death. But their stories are flawed. I do not hunt. I guide. I am no tyrant nor thief. I do not take souls. I escort them. I do not punish the dead. I weigh their hearts. My role is simple, yet profound. I bring order to chaos, light to darkness, and truth to the veil of uncertainty. My enemies fear my scales more than my staff, for they know that when the time comes, I will hold them to the unyielding measure of Ma'at. The feather of truth does not bend, and neither do I. The righteous will pass, their hearts light and free. The wicked will falter, their deeds pulling them into the jaws of Amut. This is not vengeance, it is balance. Even the gods tread carefully in my presence. They respect me not for my strength, but for my unwavering duty. Osiris may reign in the afterlife, but it is I who ensure that souls reach his throne. Ra may shine upon the living, but it is I who guide the departed through the darkness. They call me the jackal, the silent one, the shadow walker. They fear my presence in the tombs, my watchful eyes over their final rites. But what they truly fear is the inevitability I represent. No amount of wealth, power, or prayer can avoid my hand when their time comes. And yet, even in their fear, they cannot help but respect me, for they know that I am fair. I am unyielding, yes, but I am just. I do not seek to harm. I seek to guide. I am the bridge between what was and what will be. So let them speak of me with trembling voices. Let them spin their tales of fear and shadow. It does not matter, for in the end, they all come to me, and I will be there, waiting, to lead them into the halls of eternity. I am Anubis, the guide of souls, the weigher of hearts, the keeper of the sacred balance. My enemies may fear me, but they will always respect the path I guard, for I am not death itself. I am the one who ensures that death has meaning.
My name is both revered and feared, for I am not merely a goddess, but a principle, a force that governs all things. To my enemies, I am the unrelenting judge, the uncheckable standard. They curse me because I cannot be swayed. They fear me because they cannot escape my truth. Yet, in their hearts, even they respect me, for they know that without me, the universe would crumble into chaos. They call me rigid, unfeeling, an ideal too lofty for mortal and god alike. But what they truly fear is not my judgment, it is their reflection in my scales. My enemies weave tales of my harshness, but these tales are born of guilt and fear, not of my nature. For I am not cruelty. I am balance. I do not punish. I reveal. To stand against Maat is to stand against the very order of existence. The gods themselves bow before me, for they understand that their powers are nothing without the harmony I uphold. Ra's sun would not rise, the Nile would not flow, and the stars would lose their way in the heavens without me. My enemies fear the weight of my feather, for it is light as air, yet heavy with truth. When placed upon the scales, it reveals all. No lies, no excuses, no power can tip the balance. They respect me because they must, for they know that I am incorruptible. Their wealth, their might, their cunning all are meaningless before the scales of Maat. They call me a tyrant of truth that they misunderstand. I am not their enemy. I am their guide. My laws are not chains, but the foundation upon which their world rests. It is not I who bring suffering, but their own deviation from balance, their own hearts weighed down by falsehood and greed. Even Set, the chaos bringer, respects me, though he may rage against my principles. Even the mightiest pharaohs seek my favor, for they know that no kingdom endures without my justice. I do not demand worship. I do not seek vengeance. I exist simply to ensure that the world turns as it must. Let my enemies speak of me in fear and awe. Let them curse the scales they cannot tip, the truths they cannot hide. It changes nothing, for I am Maat, the breath of order, the voice of justice, the keeper of balance. And in the end, they will understand that my feather does not condemn, it reveals what has always been within. Whether they fear me or respect me, it is of no consequence. For I am eternal, and through me, the universe endures.
My name is spoken with trembling voices, wrapped in fear and cloaked in whispers. To mortals, I am the queen of the great below, the shadow at the end of their journey. To my enemies, I am a terror they cannot conquer, a sovereign they dare not challenge. They curse me in their fear, yet their words are heavy with respect. They tell tales of my coldness, my cruelty, my isolation in the dark realm. They do not understand the burden of my crown. It is not for me to offer warmth or mercy, but to maintain the order of death. I do not cause their end, I merely ensure it has meaning. They fear me because I am resolute, unyielding as the earth itself. Even my sister, Inanna, goddess of love and light, dared to descend into my realm. She sought to take what was mine, to shine her radiance in the depths of my domain. Yet, even she, with all her beauty and power, was humble before me. I am not swayed by charm or arrogance. The great below answers to no one but its queen. My enemies whisper of my power in hushed tones. They fear the gates of Ker, the 7 seals that mark the descent into my realm. They fear the finality of my rule, the knowledge that no soul escapes my grasp. Yet they respect me, for they know that I am not chaos, but order. Without me, life's cycle would shatter, and the living would drown in the weight of their dead. They call me harsh, yet I am fair. I do not delight in suffering. nor do I seek dominion over the living. My role is to hold what is forgotten, to keep the souls of the departed safe in the stillness of my realm. I am the keeper of silence, the guardian of shadows, the judge of what cannot return. Even the guards tread cautiously when they speak of me. They respect the boundary I uphold, the balance I maintain. They know that my rule is absolute, that the great below is as sacred as the heavens themselves. I am no less necessary than the sun or the storm, though my work is shrouded in shadow. Let them speak of me with fear if they must. Let them with their stories of dread, the tales of my implacable will. But let them also know this: I am not their enemy. I am the one who brings closure to their journey, the one who ensures that the wheel of existence continues to turn. I am Ereshkigal, queen of the great below. My enemies may fear me, but they cannot deny my power, my purpose, my place in the eternal balance. For even in death, there is a throne, and it is mine.
I have walked this earth and the realms beyond, casting my presence like a shadow that swallows the sun. Oh, how they whispered of me in hushed tones. Those weak, trembling souls, they spoke of my name, Nergal, as if it were a curse, a thunderclap that heralded doom. They dared not speak it aloud in the light of day, lest it invite the very wrath they feared. And yet, they knew the truth in the depths of their hearts, that no matter how high they rose, no matter how many kings and gods they worshipped, they could never escape me. For I am the end, the inevitable dusk that follows every dawn. What is life without death? What is light without shadow? They, in their foolish pride, forgot that truth. I watched as they cowered before me, their faces pale, their voices faltering when they dared speak of my domain, the underworld, a place they could not name without a tremor in their throat. To them, I was not merely a god. No, I was their doom. Their armies faltered, their cities crumbled, their greatest heroes fell silent beneath the weight of my gaze. In every whispered legend, in every hushed tale, they spoke of the horrors I brought forth. The heat of my anger could scorch the heavens. The cold of my judgment could freeze the heart of any mortal. They called me ruthless, cruel. Yet it was respect they offered in their fear. They understood. In the end, it was not mere terror they felt. It was the recognition of their insignificance in the face of eternity. My enemies knew this. They trembled not because I was merely powerful, but because they knew that no matter how great their power, it could never compare to mine. I was timeless, unyielding, a force that could not be bargained with, a presence that could not be reasoned with. When they spoke of me, it was not with hatred, but with a deep, reverent fear. Fear born of their knowledge that no empire, no mortal, no god could stand before the inevitability of the darkness I brought. They knew what awaited them. When the time came for them to bow to the underworld, to embrace what I had set in motion, and so they spoke of me, their voices barely above a whisper, filled with the kind of respect that only the most devout can offer a deity who does not forgive, who does not forget. The world will forget the names of kings, the names of nations, but mine will echo in the halls of time, for as long as the shadows stretch across the earth. I am Nergal, and they feared me, but more than that, they respected me, for they knew, in their souls, that without me, there could be no life.
Ah, yes, they spoke of me, my enemies, the ones who thought they could defy me, the ones who dared to walk the earth as if the underworld were nothing more than a shadow to be avoided. How foolish they were. They had no understanding of what lies beneath, no understanding of the true cost of life. They called me many names, but it is the whispers I remember most, those quiet murmurs that trembled in the dark corners of their hearts. Miklantakutli, they said in fear and awe, for they knew what my name carried. Not just the finality of death, but the weight of all souls that had passed through my domain since the beginning of time. I am the keeper of their passage. I am the end that none can escape. And they feared me, yes. They feared the endless descent, the unyielding march to the deepest depths of Miklan. To face me was to face the truth of their mortality. No temple, no shield, no prayer could save them from what awaited at the foot of my throne. They spoke of my silence, how my realm was a place where no sound dared to break the stillness, how even the bravest warriors, the proudest kings, entered my domain with heads bowed, knowing that no matter their achievements, no matter their might, they were but dust to be scattered in the winds of time. But it was not only fear they spoke with, oh no. There was respect in their trembling voices as well. They respected my authority. for they knew that I am the force that gives meaning to the world they inhabited. They feared me, yes, but in their fear, there was the recognition that life without death is but a dream, a fleeting moment that cannot sustain itself. Without me, they would have no end, no purpose. So they whispered of me, not as one to be defeated, but as one who simply is. I am inevitable, eternal, unmovable. I am not a god who seeks to be worshipped, nor one who plays the games of the living. No, I am the one who waits. I wait for them all. They spoke of me with reverence, knowing that I was the ultimate judge. I decided who would cross the river of the dead, who would be greeted by the winds of Mictlan, and who would be lost in the obsidian, darkness forever. The souls of the wicked, the proud, the warriors, the kings, they all came to me, and they knew that in that moment, in my presence, they would find no escape from the judgment I would pass. The fear, the respect, it was one and the same. For I am not simply the end of life. I am the eternal guardian of the balance. The living speak of me as a shadow in the dark, but the wise know that it is the shadow that gives form to the light. Without my realm, there would be no peace, no order. Without me, there would be no final reckoning. They feared me, yes, but they respected me even more. For I am Mictlantecuhtli, lord of the underworld, the one who waits in silence and reigns over the souls of the dead. And I have watched as every single one of them has fallen before me. Kings, warriors, empires, every last one of them has whispered my name as they entered the realm of the forgotten.
They spoke of me, yes. Oh, how they spoke. The ones who dared to defy the flow of life and death, who believed they could avoid the inevitable journey to my realm. In their arrogance, they thought themselves untouchable, their power eternal. But I am the one who sees the end of all things. No one escapes the passage I govern. They feared me, naturally. They feared the very thought of crossing my path, for they knew what my name carried. Mictlantecuhtli, the name of the one who governs the bones, the one who holds the keys to the afterlife, to the quiet darkness where no mortal can survive unscathed. They whispered it in secret, beneath their breaths, knowing that to utter it aloud was to invite the gaze of death itself. They feared the judgment I brought, for it was not just the end of life, it was a reckoning. But it was not only fear they felt. No, in their trembling voices, there was respect. Deep, undying respect. They knew the weight of my role. I am the Lady of the Dead, the guardian of those who have passed through the veils of life, the one who watches over their souls as they make their journey through Mictlan. It is I who guide them, who ensure their passage, who decide their fate. I heard their cries as they entered my realm. Some begged for mercy, others for eternal rest, but none escaped the truth. They knew, in the deepest parts of themselves, that I was not just their end. I was their judgment. I was the keeper of the balance between life and death, the one who ensured that all souls, whether they had been great or small, would find their place in the eternal order. And as they spoke of me, they spoke not only of the terror of my power, but of the undeniable truth of my presence. They could not deny the weight of what I represented. The living, in their foolishness, might think they can outrun the pull of death, but in the end, they knew that no one could defy me. They may have feared me, but they respected me, for I was the only certainty in a world built on the illusion of immortality. Death is a constant, and I am its queen. They whispered of my beauty, my elegance, but it was a beauty tempered with the knowledge that it was the beauty of the grave. I wore my crown of bones with pride, for I had seen the rise and fall of civilizations, the rise and fall of gods. I had witnessed countless souls pass through my realm, and in the silence of the afterlife, I remain unchanging. They feared me because they knew that no one is beyond my reach. The greatest kings, the mightiest warriors, the gods themselves, none were spared from the passage I oversee. But even in their fear, they understood. I was the keeper of order. Without me, without my domain, the cycle of life and death would crumble into chaos. I was necessary. I was inevitable. So they spoke of me with reverence, with a trembling acknowledgement of my role in the grand weave of existence. They feared my gaze, my presence, but they respected the truth of what I represented. For I am Mictlantecuhtli, Lady of the Dead, and I watch over the souls of the departed. They whispered my name, and though it echoed with terror, it was also the sound of respect for the finality of life, for the certainty of death, and for the eternal power I hold over both.
They spoke of me, those who dared cross into my realm. They spoke of me in hushed tones, as though their very words might summon my presence, as though invoking my name would bring them closer to the fate they feared. And fear they did. I was not a god they could fight, not a force they could outwit. I was the inevitable, the one who took all, regardless of their strength or their pride. I was Dawn, and I ruled the land of the dead. My enemies, they trembled before the mere thought of crossing my threshold. I did not need to show them my power, nor did I need to raise my hand in wrath. My name alone, the name of the Lord who claimed the souls of the departed, was enough to make their hearts pound with terror. They knew that the moment they entered my domain, there would be no return, no bargaining, no escape. They would never again see the sun rise over the hills, nor hear the laughter of the living. But there was more than fear in their words, respect. They respected the order I upheld. They respected the truth of the underworld I governed. For I am the keeper of the dead, the one who guides the souls of those who have passed, the one who watches over the gates of the afterlife. They feared me because they knew that death is not an end but a beginning, a journey. And I was the one who saw that journey through. It was not my cruelty they feared, though they saw me as a force of judgment and finality. It was my certainty. They knew that no matter their deeds in life, no matter how powerful or how revered they might have been among the living, they would one day meet me. I, Dawn, was the gatekeeper of the realm where all must enter, the ruler of those who had passed beyond. I saw them, these proud men and women, warriors, kings, and gods. Some of them came with heads held high, defiant even in death. But I never wavered, and neither did they, for deep down in the silence of their hearts, they knew that they were but fleeting shadows of a greater truth, that no life lasts forever, and no mortal can escape the grasp of the underworld. They spoke of my stillness, my calm, but there was no escape from the silence of death, and they respected that silence. They respected the unwavering reality that I, Dawn, brought with me. It was a respect born of inevitability. They knew that I did not ask for tribute. I did not desire offerings or prayers. I simply took what was mine. It was my realm. It was my domain. And so they spoke of me. They spoke with a reverence born of understanding. They knew they would never escape me, not with their might, not with their schemes, not with their tricks. No warrior's sword, no ruler's decree could alter the course that led to me. They knew I was not just a god of death, but the very keeper of balance. And for that I was both feared and respected. I was Dawn, the Lord of the dead, and to cross my threshold was to accept the end. And in that acceptance, there was respect, for death is not an enemy but a truth, and to respect that truth is to honor the balance of life itself.
They spoke of me, yes, those who dared to walk the earth in defiance of fate, those who thought themselves immortal, invincible. They spoke of me in hushed tones, their voices trembling with fear, for they knew that no matter how far they ran, no matter how many lives they took, they could never escape my reach. I am Yama, the Lord of Death, and all roads, in the end, lead to me. They feared me, yes. How could they not? For I am the one who calls the souls of the living to their final judgment. I am the one who decides whether they will be lost to the darkness or granted peace. My enemies, the proud and the arrogant, who thought they could evade death with their cunning, their wealth, or their power, they were wrong. There is no escaping me, for I am not just the end of life. I am the inevitable truth that lies at the heart of existence. But it was not just fear they spoke with. There was respect too. A deep, unwavering respect. For they knew that I do not act in anger, nor out of vengeance. I am the one who brings balance to the world. I do not choose favorites. I take all equally, whether they be king or beggar, saint or sinner. It is not my hand that ends their lives. It is simply their time to come to me. They feared the judgment I passed, but they respected the justice of it. They knew that life was fleeting, that it was but a moment in the grand scheme of the cosmos. I am Yama, and I do not take life in haste. I wait for the soul to find its place in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Every soul must pass before me, and they know that when their time has come, they must face the truth of who they were, the consequences of their actions. They spoke of my presence, the chill in the air when I walked among the living. My shadow fell across them like a shroud, and they knew the moment they saw me that their time was at an end. The bravest warriors, the mightiest kings, the cleverest schemers, they all fell silent before me, and in their silence, There was respect for the law that I upheld. They could not deny that death is not a punishment, but a release, a return to the universe's great design. Yes, they feared me, but more than that, they understood that I was not their enemy, but the reflection of their own mortality. They respected me because they knew that without death, life would lose its meaning. Without me, there would be no final reckoning, no justice, no balance. I am the eternal force that keeps the world in harmony, the Lord who ensures that no one escapes the natural order. I have watched countless souls pass through my gates, some with regret, others with defiance, but all with the same truth. They could not escape me, so they spoke of me in fear and in awe, fear of the judgment I passed, of the finality of death itself, but also with respect. For in their hearts, they knew that I was not merely the end, but a part of the cycle. I am Yama, Lord of Death, and my role is not to destroy, but to guide, to ensure that each soul finds its rightful place in the eternal dance of existence, and in that, there is no greater power.
In the shadow depths of the underworld, where the realm of Yomi stretches beyond sight, Izanami, the goddess of death, stands alone, her dark robes flowing, like the still waters of the river that separates the living from the dead. Her presence is both cold and commanding, a reflection of the untouchable finality she brings to all things. Her voice is the slow, inevitable turning of time, full of both sorrow and authority. They spoke of me, didn't they? Those who thought they could escape the laws of life and death. Those who believed they could dance beyond my reach. They spoke of me in Pharaoh, how they feared the sight of my gaze, the sound of my name. The very thought of crossing the threshold into Yomi, they whispered of me as though calling my name might bring the cold chill of death itself to their doorstep. They feared my hands, for they knew that when I reached out, there was no escaping the dark embrace of the underworld. But beneath their fear, there was something more, something heavier, something that could not be ignored. Respect, yes. They respected the truth I represented, though they could never bring themselves to face it directly. I am Izanami, the one who gave birth to life and the one who takes it back. I am the Queen of Yomi, the ruler of the dead. And when my enemies spoke of me, it was with the knowledge that no matter how great their strength, no matter how long their reign, I would come for them when their time arrived. They respected that, for no one can escape me, not even the gods. They spoke of the power I wielded, the coldness of my rule. My enemies feared the shadows that followed in my wake, the whispers of their own mortality, that would reach their ears before I ever touched them. They feared my dominion over death, for I am not simply the goddess of endings. I am the inevitable force that governs the balance of all things. In their minds, they saw the path to Yomi, the gate that stands between life and death, and they knew that beyond that gate there was no return, no bargaining, no second chances. There was only me, Izanami, the one who decides who will stay and who will pass beyond. And in that finality, they found a deep, unspoken respect. They knew that in the world of the living, all things must come to an end, and in the world of the dead, I hold the power to decide what happens next. They spoke of my sorrow as well, for I too was once part of the world of the living, and it was only through loss, through death, that I came to rule this realm. They respected that sorrow, that quiet, relentless grief that makes me who I am. It is not vengeance that drives me, no. It is the acceptance of the cycle, the understanding that all life must return to the earth, that all things are born and then fade. And so they spoke of me not just in fear, but in respect for the inevitability I represent. I am not a goddess of wrath, but of balance. I bring death not out of cruelty, but out of the necessity of it. I am the end of all things, and in that end there is always a beginning. For death is not truly the end, it is the step in the journey toward rebirth. And in this, they found the truth of my power. I am Izanami, the Queen of Yomi, the keeper of the dead. And when my enemies spoke of me, they spoke with the understanding that death, in all its coldness and inevitability, is a force that cannot be avoided. They feared my gaze, but they respected the balance I uphold. For without me, there could be no life. And so, when they spoke of me, they knew one thing above all else: no one escapes death, and no one escapes Izanami.
They spoke of me, didn't they? Those who dared to defy the frozen grasp of winter. Those who sought to escape the inevitable darkness I bring. They spoke of me in fear, their words shaking in their throats like leaves caught in a storm. They feared my coming, for they knew that when I walk upon the earth, it is not with the warmth of the sun, but with the cold hand of death itself. I am Morena, and I am the embodiment of winter, the death of the season. The death of warmth, the death that awaits us all. They saw the frost forming on the trees, the frost creeping into their hearts, and they knew that in my presence, life must surrender to the cold. I am the end of growth, the cessation of life's warmth. And when they felt the bite of the chill, they feared me. But it was not only fear they spoke with. No, there was respect too, born from the knowledge that I am no mere destroyer. I do not simply bring death, I bring balance. For without winter, there can be no spring. Without death, there can be no renewal. They feared the frost that spread across their lands, but they understood that without me, life would be consumed by endless, unchecked growth. I am the balance that makes the will turn. They spoke of my coldness, yes, how the air would freeze with every step I took, how the winds would howl and the snow would fall in an ever-ending cascade. But they respected the inevitability of it. They knew that winter comes for all, without mercy, without hesitation. It is not my cruelty they feared, it is the truth that I embody. The truth that nothing is permanent. Nothing escapes the grasp of death, nor the cold grip of winter. Not even the mightiest tree or the grandest empire. My enemies spoke of me in awe, for they understood that I was not a force to be opposed. I am a force of nature, ancient and unyielding. They could not fight the winter storms, nor could they outrun the coming frost. And in their hearts, they respected me for that. They knew that they would, one day, fall to my embrace, just as the harvest falls to the winter's bite. They spoke of my silence, for in the depths of winter, I walk alone. There are no songs of joy, no warmth to be found in the land I touch. Only silence, only the crunch of snow beneath the feet of the lost. And they understood that silence, the silence of the world turning inward, the silence of the death of the year, the silence of what comes after the end. They spoke of my touch, how it could freeze the soul and still the heart. And they spoke of how, when I was near, life would retreat, fleeing before my arrival, knowing that there could be no life in the face of such cold. They feared the stillness I brought with me, the death of hope, the hibernation of all things. But they respected it, for they understood that even in death, there is a purpose. Without my touch, the earth would never rest. Without winter, there would be no spring. I am Morena, and I bring the stillness of death, the purity of winter. My enemies feared me because they knew I was inevitable. They feared me because they knew that in my presence, all things must pause, must rest, must cease. But they respected me because they knew I was the force that carried life from one season to the next. The force that brings transformation, that brings rebirth. So they spoke of me. They spoke in fear of my coming, but they spoke in respect of what I represent. For I am death, but I am also the keeper of balance. I am winter, and I am the promise of what comes after.
They spoke of me, didn't they? Those who once thought themselves untouchable. Those who believed they could escape the grip of fate. They spoke of me in whispers, in hushed tones, as if speaking too loudly might awaken the very thing they feared. And they feared me, make no mistake, for I am Emma, the enforcer of fate, the one who holds the scales of life and death, the one who decides when the hourglass runs out. They feared me because they knew I was the reckoning they could never outrun. No matter how powerful they thought themselves, no matter how many armies they commanded or empires they built, they could not escape me. I was the shadow that followed them, the weight they carried in the back of their minds. They could see my hand in the smallest of moments, a twist of fate, a change in the wind, and they knew, with a certainty that chilled their bones, that I would come for them when their time had arrived. But it was not just fear that dripped from their words. It was respect, too. They feared my touch, yes, but they also respected my purpose, for I do not act out of malice, nor do I seek to destroy for the sake of destruction. I am the arbiter of fate, the balance keeper. I do not play favorites, nor do I show mercy. I only ensure that the threads of destiny are woven as they must be. They spoke of my presence, The way the world would feel heavier when I was near. The way the very air seemed to change when my will was at work. They knew that I did not need to raise my hand or draw a sword to bring about their end. I was the inevitable force that guided their lives to their conclusion. The moment when the scales tipped, and nothing could be done to alter the course. They feared that moment, but they respected it, for they knew that I was the ultimate measure of fairness. It was not my anger they feared, but my certainty. The certainty that, when the time comes, everything must yield to fate. Nothing escapes the path I walk. They could try to cheat it. They could try to run, but they knew deep down that I was the keeper of their ultimate truth. I am the end they cannot avoid, the reckoning that they must face. And in that inevitability, there was respect. They spoke of my eyes, how they could see through every lie, every false hope, every illusion they tried to weave around themselves. I did not need to listen to their excuses or their pleas for mercy. I simply knew when their time was up. And in that knowledge they respected me, for they understood that I did not bring suffering for the sake of it. I only brought the resolution that was due. I was not a god of wrath or vengeance, but of fate, of purpose. I was the one who measured the worth of their deeds, the one who decided when they had reached the end of their path. My enemies feared the stillness that came with my presence, the way the world would pause, as if holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. But even in their fear, they could not deny the justice of it. They spoke of me, yes, with a tremor in their voice. They feared me because they knew I could not be swayed. But they also spoke with respect, for they knew that, in the end, fate is the greatest force of all. And when I arrived, there was no question of mercy or punishment, only the truth of what must be. So let them speak of me, let them speak in fear and respect. For I am Emma, the enforcer of fate, and the moment I touch their lives is the moment they must face their own truth.
If you made it this far, it means you enjoyed it. Thanks and see you next time.